2, 1. Yo, what up? What up? You know what it is. We live. It's Seed Talk. Stuff to make your seed walk. Shout
Hey.
out to Bobby for starting that. I always like to start off like that. But, anyways, we have a very special guest. We're just going to jump into it. We're a little pressed for time, but I want to hit y'all real quick. And when this post, make sure that y'all are commenting, make sure you're liking, make sure you're sharing and whatnot. Always, like I say, please donate. And I'm going to have our guest put her Cash App and her Venmo, whatever she wants, in the comments when we do post this, and make sure that you send a donation towards the arts, man, because it's important to support Black artists and our creative content. So we're always taking donations. Slavery's over. We're tired of people just making money off our talent, you know what I'm saying, without giving us no compensation. But anyways, that's my shameless soapbox. But anyways, why don't you go ahead and tell them who you are. I'm very excited to talk about this. We're going to have a part two. I like to begin where I think we're going to end, and we're going to end with a part two. So I just want you to introduce yourself. I'm excited to have you on the show. I got so many questions, so many stories I want to hear, and so many stories I want to share. So tell them who you be.
So I bees, Devona Roy, also known as Art Deity. And to actually what you just said, giving, cash or whatnot, or taking money, but also taking credit from artists, right? Like it's not always just the money, but taking credit from artists, especially artists of color and Black artists. So yes.
So tell them what you do. Tell them where you're from. And she's like, can't you see young Jeezy? Like young Jeezy back there.
I'm like, everybody looks like somebody, yeah, I'm an artist. I'm a visual artist. Strictly. I don't do any performing arts other than acting. I can act a little bit, but I don't sing, dance, or anything like that. But I paint. Pretty much anything that takes paint, I will paint on. What you see behind me are 3 canvases. Those are my 3 latest pieces. But anything, if it can hold paint, it can be painted. So we'll actually talk a little bit more about that. What's that?
Including bodies, right?
Including bodies. Actually, I really enjoy body painting, also special effects makeup. So I can turn anyone into almost anything. If it is like creative with your hands, because I can also mold hair and make cakes and fondant. If it is a visual art, my hands have probably been in it. But yeah, primarily though, painting. It started with painting. It started with drawing people, anatomy, physiology, cartoons, things like that. But yeah.
Okay. So where'd you grow up, D?
I'm a California native. So born in Los Angeles, spent time in both Northern and Southern California. A long time ago. I'm actually 40 this year. So you guys can kind of do the math. I've been drawing ever since I could write, in a sense. Didn't take it serious though until a few years ago. But yeah, I moved around quite a bit though, because I'm also an Army vet. So I'm a little bit of everywhere before settling down in Washington.
You're an Army vet, huh?
I am an Army vet. 13 years ago, served for 9 years.
Okay, so what'd you do in the Army?
I spent their money.
You might have some stand up in you too, girl.
No, I was a 92 Yankee, which is it's technically a logistics specialist. My specific job was keeping the commander out of jail, right? Like keeping up with his inventory, his logistics, impact credit card, negotiating contracts, moving weapons and vehicles overseas. I was in Germany for 3 years. I'm fucking Deutsch. So yeah. And like
so you're over there managing their budget where they spending like, you know what I'm saying, $10,000 on a cargo full of toilet paper, you know what I'm saying, for a roll of toilet paper.
I almost thought you were going to say $10,000 for a tank. And I'm like, what kind of military were you?
No, toilet paper.
Yeah. Luckily not during the pandemic though. I've been out for 13 years. It was a lifetime ago. I served for 9.
Okay.
But yeah, I also have a mural in the Army as well.
Where at?
NTC. It's known as a National Training Center in Barstow. It's actually the up until recently the biggest mural that I had done. And I don't want to jump ahead because I know that that's going to be one of your questions, and I'm going to talk more about it then. So just know that.
Get out of my notes, okay?
It's not in the notes; it's in the title.
See, D, I'm producing this show. Dang it.
I should also mention my day job as a producer for corporate Seattle. So
Oh, okay. So yeah, we've met just doing, doing community things, and I've always appreciated you hitting me up, giving me opportunities to build community, and that's what we're going to be talking about today is how art, what I'm saying, can heal and build community. But tell us how you made that transition from. I'm going to go ahead and think that you did it in school. You were doing art because you don't look like you were like no late bloomer. You look like you've been doing this for a minute since coloring books. You probably, when you was a kid, you was probably a show off. You had the big 64 one. Yeah, I couldn't, I always wanted with the sharpener on the side.
Yeah. Oh my God. I probably wouldn't have been friends with me as a kid because I was a show off for sure.
Really? So you went to high school down there in Cali?
Yeah, I actually went to it was a public school, but it was what you call an ACE Academy.
No, man, shout it out. What's your high school?
Moreno Valley. So Moreno Valley is a city. Moreno Valley High School is a high school. But it was around the time when they were kind of introducing like specialty schools in a sense, even in the public school system. And, STEM and STREAM was kind of starting out. I graduated in 2001. And it was the ACE Academy for the arts. And I was actually in a drama class, and I left the drama class and took my portfolio to the art teacher, to the visual art teacher, and was like, I don't want to do intro to art. Just put me in your top class. Like, I don't want to take the steps. Just put me in this. And she did. The drama teacher was upset because he thought I had a career, or not a career, but a path that way. And I was like, but that's not really what I want to focus on. Mm-hmm. And she put me in a class, and I ended up lettering in the arts. I didn't even know that you could letter in the arts, but I lettered in the arts. The only class I'd ever taken for art was my senior year that year. And I lettered and placed and was in the newspaper and was charging other students to complete their sketchbooks because I've always been in business as well.
Hey, listen, hold on. I'm a principal. I'm an active principal. There's no statute of limitations.
Yeah.
You're going to get suspended. Okay.
I'm like, I would never have owned up to that 5 years out of high school. But, after that.
So you're saying that they were paying you to do their stuff? That's
dope.
Oh, wait. Did I say that's dope? My bad.
Don't do that. Do your own work.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
But I think in all seriousness, you shouldn't do it. I think it was dope that you had that entrepreneur spirit in you. You know what I'm saying? But don't do that, y'all. Yeah, but so how did you make that transition? Were you in ROTC in high school?
I was a Smurf.
What is that?
Air Force, ROTC, the blue suit.
Oh, gotcha.
You guys didn't have a name for your ROTCs? Yeah.
No, we do Army, so we don't do the Smurfs, and I never knew that terminology,
Yeah. I was in Air Force ROTC and joined the Army. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, I did 4 years of ROTC. The first 3 years I was in it, I had no intention on joining the Army. Mm-hmm. I was actually receiving like letters or whatnot my senior year for art schools, but I didn't see art as a future in high school, believe it or not. So, and I also didn't see how it would actually pay for schooling. So I joined the Army because I was like, well, this is a great way for me to pay for school and not be in debt. And
yeah. That's really smart, man. When I was younger, I had this chip on my a legitimate chip on my shoulder about the military, because they come into our communities and, they're predatory, what I'm saying? No pun intended. And they prey on us because our conditions are so, poor and bad. It's like, okay, well, it's like they almost put us in the conditions where, the military would be our most feasible, you know what I'm saying? Place to go post-secondary experience. And so I was always hard on them when they would be, like trying to recruit me when I was younger, and I would break them down. There was no recruiter that could get with me. You know what I'm saying? I could out debate them all. Like, you want me to go to, as a poor black person, go to another country and kill other poor people.
Yeah.
Well, you can do other things that doesn't include killing, but I'm going to still be an accessory, and I'm going to be an accomplice to you going somewhere, occupying them, stealing their resources, bringing them back so people here in America can live better. And you want me to feel good about that. Be like, oh yeah, okay, thanks, man. No, we're not done with the conversation. Come back. So,
Right.
but as I got older and got into education, I learned how to take the best parts of any form of education.
Mhm.
And I say that to say 2 out of 3 of my children were in ROTC. My daughter didn't even sniff at it, because she's an artist. She's
My
like you,
daughter.
she's a visual artist. Yeah, she gets busy. You
Yeah.
and you and her would get along. And actually, I might be talking to you about being her mentor and stuff. Like she's had many mentors.
Yeah.
Stephanie Morales, my man Hiawatha Davis have all mentored her throughout the years. Um, but um, but my son, my youngest son, he did 1 year, and I was like, man, you got to finish something you start. And he was just like, after his freshman year, he was like, I'm not doing this no more. But my oldest son, he did it from his sophomore year to his senior year, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to him. Seriously, he just really needed the discipline. He needed the cadet creed, just the respect, the organization, the planning that went. It's just dope. So shout out to you. I have another little story I want to tell real quick because I'm very envious of you because you went to an art school, right?
Ish. Yeah. It
Yeah,
specialized in it, but
it's
yeah.
specialized in arts, right? So yeah, we're saying the same thing. I grew up in Cincinnati and I was born in Cleveland, and then until I was like 11 or 12, I grew up in Cincinnati. So the point is, there are the School of Creative and Performing Arts. They have a school in Philadelphia, they have a school in New York, and they have a school in Cincinnati. And I always wanted to go to the School of Performing Arts. It's a public school there in Cincinnati Public Schools, and I never could go. But my cousins went, my aunt and uncle went. You know,
It sounds like there's some animosity
yeah,
there.
man, I had a chip on my shoulder. And let me tell you, man, because my cousin who went, the guy cousin, and his name is actually Guy, we looked up to our older uncle, you know, because some uncles aren't older, by the way.
Yeah,
We
mine's
looked
just
up to
2
our,
years younger than me.
yeah. So we looked up to her, and it was always in a competition because our older uncle, Guy, who changed his name to Askia, he did theater. He was actually in the military too. He was in the Navy, and he actually sung for President Reagan. He was in a Navy choir, and so he was a brilliant soloist. He was like a classical opera singer, but he could sing all kind of genres. The point, we used to compete and see who could be who could show off.
I'm sorry, are you about to sing for us?
Nah,
No.
man. But my point is, I had a chip on my shoulder because I never went to the creative performing arts. But I was like, I want to be the best artist in the family, and I think I proved it. Yeah, because now I'm acting. You know what I'm saying? I got, I do hip hop, I do spoken word, I produce and all that stuff. So I had to get that off. You shared your story, I had to share mine.
I am not the best artist in my family. I gave birth, I think, to what will become the best artist in my family.
That's art in itself, though.
Yeah. My daughter, I just told you, she's a SOTA student. She's at Tacoma School of the Arts.
Yeah.
Going into her junior year. And when I say, like, the talent that I was given, visual arts, it was given to me for a reason. Because if I could sing, I'd never shut up. I would go through life with a theme song and sing it just walking down.
When's your birthday? You say you talk a lot, huh? That's what
yeah, I'm a Libra, you know.
Okay, yeah. Libras are awesome. Man, they're one of my favorite. You guys, and Libras, not you guys, but Libras are brilliant creatives. Seriously. Like, that's why I think that Pisces, I'm a Pisces, and Libras, my best friend, I call my brother. He won't even let me call him a friend anymore. Yeah. He's like, man, we're brothers. He's a Libra. That guy gets busy. Like, and y'all are brilliant creatives, man. Y'all are good. So just talking a little bit more. So you get out of the military and you're like, I want to pursue this art thing. That was very smart too, to use the military to pay for your schooling, though.
Yeah. I actually went to school for business with a concentration in marketing.
I'm sure you use that now, though, right?
Yeah. I use it now, but I use it now, but not in the way that I'm supposed to. So what I went to school for was more statistics and 5 and 10 year marketing plans and things like that, right? Like the numbers and the business plans. But what I discovered and eventually there's a few stops in between there too, and I'll get back to that really quick and kind of give a quick rundown. Today I use it in creative marketing. So, photography, retouching, design, advertisement, things like that. But initially, when I got out of the military, I had started a photography business. I also do photography and photo retouching and photo manipulation and all of that good stuff. And then I started teaching art. So I don't know if you knew that yet or not, but I was actually a teacher for 4 years.
That's dope.
Yeah, and I taught art, both visual and performing, to students between the grades of first grade through eighth grade. And the last 3 years of my students would actually go on to a school of the arts that was in Fontana, California.
Mhm.
So yeah.
That's fire. I love your story. I gotta hear more. I want to get to this next story, and because we got a little bit under 10 minutes to go, and we're gonna have to do a part two. But I wanted to conquer two stories. I wanted you to talk about the flowers. We see the brother in back. I say it looked like Young Jeezy. Now I saw you create that. That's the same one you did for Talib, right? Well, not
Yeah, the where is he at? This one over here, yeah.
yeah. So let me tell the audience what D does. D, what she does is she'll be on stage and there'll be someone performing and she'll actually be, composing a drawing, you know what I'm saying, or painting, you know what I'm saying, a picture. And that's what she came up with Talib. And I have some good stories about that too. But tell me about these Black men with flowers.
Yes.
What's that about? And tell us the story about that.
So this is the beginning of a series. Like I said, there's 3 of them right now. And it's called Give Us Our Flowers While We're Still Here. And it's actually a term I'm actually starting to hear that a little more often, just in social media and things like that. But it means exactly what it says. Give us our flowers while we're still here, right? While we're still on this earth, while we're still here, that we can appreciate, receive them and whatnot. But it started because a couple of years ago, and to be precise, actually 3 years ago, my son's turning 13 tomorrow. Around the time of his 10th birthday, I had read a statistic that said, I think it was a statistic that said that majority of men, and especially young Black men or Black boys, are not given their first set of flowers until their funeral, right? Like that's when they're no longer here to accept it. They're no longer here to see how they were appreciated, right? And I'm just like, that's not right. And I was a culprit of that as well. I would give my daughter flowers just to have in her room, or just like, hey, I brought you home something, but I didn't do it for my son. And it made me think, and I'm like, why don't we? And so for his 10th birthday, I got him his first bouquet of roses. And his birthday's in July. He's a Cancer. Ruby is his birthstone, and red's his favorite color. And he loved it. And I know we were talking before, but I had actually received a little bit of backlash. And it came from the bouquet, the boutiques that you would get the flowers from. It came from other men that were wondering why I was gifting my son flowers, because it is a, feminine thing to receive. And I didn't quite agree with that, right? I'm like, flowers represent life. They represent beauty, and men can appreciate both of those things, right? And not when they're gone. Like, give it to them now while they're here, while they can, appreciate it and admire it. So made me start a series around it, right? Literally, so that it's a visual representation of showing that we can do this now. There doesn't have to be a reason, doesn't have to be a birthday. He gets them now. If I just like, hey, I thought about you. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. And it's like the word and title "sun" and flowers goes together for obvious reasons. That's the what I'm saying, the dad joke, the pun in me. That's the poetic part of me. It's like, imagine it being awkward and weird to give the sun some flowers. It's like, it just makes sense. But I like I was saying before, too many times, which is really toxic to our community, as we transition to how can we use art to heal and build community, we use European value systems and their standards of beauty to associate and assign sexuality and all these things. So that's where that comes from. It's just like, oh, that's gay, that's feminine. But it's like, I'm a Pisces. That's a water sign. Your son is a water sign. That's feminine energy. That's divine energy. That's Oshun. You know what I mean? That's Yemaya. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's nothing wrong with feminine or masculine energy, you know what I'm saying, when it's used to build community.
What two things do flowers need? They both need sun and water, which is
Right,
like the water signs. And it's not even it's nice to have it. They're a necessity in
right.
order for them to grow and thrive.
Hmm.
Right? It's not it's nice to have it. It is literally a necessity in order for them to grow.
Hmm. What's it like being an artist here in Seattle, Washington?
Oh, honestly, I never planned on staying in Washington initially. I moved out here because my mom was sick. And
Hmm.
I'm in marketing. I love statistics and data, and I'm looking up numbers. And I was like, there's no Black people there.
Right, right. You're in Tacoma. There's actually Tacoma has the highest population of Black people in the state
It
of
does, and I was very purposeful when I chose Tacoma. I
Washington.
work in Seattle. Our company's in Bellevue, and I purposely live in Tacoma.
Yeah.
Um,
Tacoma's nice, man. Tacoma does a good job of, keeping it's by default and by proxy because a lot of them getting pushed out and
yeah,
gentrified from Seattle and other places. But Tacoma does a good job of, taking care of Black folks. Hmm.
I found community within a week or two of me moving out here.
Hmm.
Interesting enough, and I had actually started doing these, like, they were called like all the way live events. They saw my art at a festival. I was actually at Taste of Tacoma. One of my relatives, her name's Nikita. She had a shop. She has a shop in Seattle. Am I allowed to say what her shop name is? Because she did really kind of start this whole thing.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so Platinum Plush Fashions.
Yeah,
That's my family. We're from Chicago.
yeah. She was
She
the
had
one
me
with
bring. What's
that's the whole situation with Buster, right?
Yeah. That would be the one.
Another episode, but go ahead, go ahead.
But she was like, "Hey, just bring your art out. There's this festival that we're doing. She already had a booth, and someone there, he's a pianist, that was performing in these all the way live events, and he's like, hey, we would love to have, like, you come as a live artist for these events. And then, of course, this is like 2017, pre-pandemic. And I started doing those, and I was already doing live art on social media. So like I would log on to Facebook and be on Facebook Live, and I'm in my house playing music back when Facebook didn't cut us off because we were playing music. And that's how it
the
was.
rights to this music.
Yeah. You're doing the disclaimer. I do not own the rights. But what I noticed was painting live at these events, with live bands and live performers, and this other form of art that I couldn't do myself, but I can definitely appreciate, mimicked what I would do in my own living room at the time, right? Like I get lost in the music, and that allows me to get lost in the painting. And it's still that way. Like I tell people, I don't particularly like public speaking, but I can do public art all day long.
I can't tell. You're doing a great job, and I love how you say there is a relationship, like it's almost symbiotic between music, in particular, hip hop and painting. How can we use those two? When you say you listen to the music and you get deep into your pain, how can we use music and art, and visual art to heal and build community?
Oh man. It's therapeutic, right? At least it is for me. And I'm told that even watching art come to life, seeing something from, starting with nothing, right? You have a blank canvas, or you have an instrument that hasn't been stroked yet, right? And then seeing something come to life out of it, even if you're not exactly doing it yourself, can be therapeutic as well. When I picked art back up again, I've gone on art hiatuses for years. When I picked it back up in 2017, it was because my mom got sick. And then when I came back home, went to Michael's, I picked up canvas and art, and I was like, I'm going to pick this back up again. I had been teaching art, but I hadn't been doing art. And I haven't put it back down since. In my career, I don't get to be hands-on anymore in the creativeness. I now manage, and once you're in management, you don't really get to be in the thick of it anymore. But it allows me to still have that creative outlet. Now that I'm not doing it professionally, I can come home and like, oh, I've had a stressful day, or I've had a great day, or I've had just there's not one emotion that you can tie to it. So that's one way for sure. We also, if I can speak to this really quick, 'cause I know that we're running out of time.
That's all good.
We had I recently did a mural for Tacoma. It's called Muted Voices. It's in East Tacoma, very specifically, down East McKinley. And the business owner, their organization is called the Making a Difference Foundation. And she came to me with this idea about a mural called Muted Voices, and she wanted to represent the voices in East Tacoma. And so I had this idea like, hey, what if we don't just do a mural, but we actually do a community day, right? Like on Memorial Day, before we start the whole mural and I'm, finishing it up, let's invite the community, anybody, everybody, I don't care what age they are, who wants to come out and be a part of making this mural come to life can come out and put paintbrush on the wall. And when I tell you, we had about 120, 130 something people total come out. I mean, there was 88 people that first day specifically that signed up. But even I worked on it for 2 weeks after that to finish it. And every day somebody would come up. It's like, hey, like I missed it this day, but I would still love to be a part of it. That made the mural to me even more spectacular, right? Because people are going to be able to come back to that mural 20, 30 years from now. Someone who was 5 years old working on it can come back at 35 years old and say, hey, I did that triangle right there, right? That's healing in itself. That's a sense of ownership. That's a sense of just
community,
pride in your community.
Community, yeah, that's building community. Those are two great examples. It's like, healing because it's therapeutic, and building because you can get various members of the community coming together to create something.
Connections were made too that day. Like people could be like, oh, that's my new bestie. It was amazing. Future artists, I have a friend of mine, she had brought her 7-year-old there, and her 7-year-old wants to be an artist when she grows up. And so now she's like, I did a piece of that mural. You don't know what they might become. They could be the next, Ernie Barnes or the next Kevin A. Williams, that now has that piece, and it started because somebody let them paint on the wall. Something that they typically tell children not to do, right?
Right. Right. That's fire. We're gonna have to have a part 2. We'll talk behind the scenes to talk about when that's gonna happen. Just go ahead and let them know where they can find you on social media and whatnot, and yeah, how they can
got it. So Instagram, it's artists. So that's a kind of a cliche, but it's artist deity, and that's DEITY. Contrary to what the schools teach us, it's not always I before E. And on Facebook, it's also just Art Deity, so ARTDEITY, and website in the same name, artdeity.com.
All right. Make sure y'all share and comment and whatnot. And we're gonna have to do a part 2. We'll let y'all know when we do that. But make sure y'all get into the comments and ask her some questions and whatnot, and we'll be engaging with this. It's been Seed Talk. We out. We'll see you for part